Okay, before we talk about anything, and you can skip this part, I will leave timestamps. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I am honestly overwhelmed. I was so pissed off at Sony in the last video that I even forgot to mention this, because we managed to reach 500 subscribers, something that I thought it was completely insane. And by the time I'm recording this, it's now 593. I find it absolutely unbelievable, and I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. I hope that you had fun watching one video to a few, and I hope you stick around and you enjoy your time on the channel. That's all. I just wanted a moment to share my gratitude with every one of you. So let's go. Okay, this one, I wanted to make this video because there is just so much talk about PlayStation killing physical games, and I already did the video at length. I'm not gonna go over everything I already did. You can go watch it if you wish. It's the last one. But I wanted to touch upon into a lot of the conversation around it that has developed. Some of the excuses people put, some of the reasoning, some other news. And how, one in particular, that you know, that 85% digital sales number, it's a lot more misleading than you may think. So let's just talk about it. And you're probably thinking, oh, another video about the doom and gloom in the video game industry. No, can we get like some positive news? And what are you talking about? This is 2026. There is no positive news in the gaming space. Oh, wait, I found one. The gamer writers are mad because the Canadian media company Valnet has introduced new contracts for freelance writers at its gaming website, The Gamer. So instead of receiving payment for each article they write, the writers will now be paid only according to the number of people who read their work. Don't you love happy endings? Maybe this time they won't need to write things like Baldur's Gate 3 actress wants Nintendo to canonize popular fan theory that Samus is a badass trans bounty hunter. Now with the fun part out of the way, let's talk again about Sony. Okay, so I came across this tweet the other day after I recorded the other video, and how it goes over that the physical copies are way more than Sony, that the numbers will lead you to believe. Now, same as the numbers, this tweet is kind of a little bit misleading. Why? Because the data that we're sure about, it's pretty old for video game standards. So we have two main sources: the Insomnia leak, which happened in 2023, and also from the UK and Europe retail data from the GST from 2023 and 2024. Yes, if you look at those numbers, you can see that, for example, God of War Ragnarok, which came out in 2022, sold 76% physical, 24% digital. Because I like to be fair, and I don't want to tell you, oh yeah, look at those numbers, it's more physical. No. I want to be fair. The GSD report, which is a slightly newer, puts, for example, Astrobot in the UK sold 55% copies physically and 60% in the rest of Europe. Again, this is 2024, is one of the most recent examples we have in this. Listen, there is no denying that the trend is going digital. That's simply not in question. Now, it may not be as steep as Sony tries to make out to be, but it is going in that direction. So if you take it from 2024 all the way to 2026, that number will probably shrink in terms of physical copies. Now, that is according to this tweet. Yes, those numbers were true, and that was more the case in 2023 for... At present, for fiscal year 2025, which is from April 2025 to March 2026, the digital to physical split was 78% digital, not 85%. Like I said in my other video, 22%, it's still millions of players, but I understand that, okay, yes, it's a small minority compared to the rest. And that trend will continue to shift, especially now that the change has been decided. But that doesn't tell you the whole story. What this points out correctly, that 78%, it's all games sold digitally. in the PlayStation Store. That includes from $5 indie games to full-price AAA titles. And you need to keep in mind, a huge amount of those games, of that 78%, simply do not have a physical release. Now, I couldn't find exactly if that number is counting, which I believe it's not, free games or DLCs and expansions. So I'm going to operate under the assumption it's not counting free-to-play games. But it is counting indie games that do not have physical editions. If you only count games that do have physical editions, the split is not as big. Now, there is no clear numbers, sadly, but a lot more people that you may think keep buying physical copies. Mostly early release, so first few weeks, because that's when most people go and buy their games. Don't be so quick to disregard, oh, it's just 15%. Even if that 15 would be a lot of people. Because it may not even be 15%, because when people are given the choice, the split is a lot more even. Independently, that trend will continue. More and more sales will be made digitally. That's the way the world goes. That doesn't mean that you have to completely disappear physical games. You know, especially when you're a multi-billion-dollar company that could potentially do that. So keep that number, take the number, the 80-85 number, with a grain of salt. In the long term, it stands to reason more digital copies will be sold due to sales in digital storefronts, bundles with consoles, and the fact that at some point physical copies stop being produced. At some point you reduce production because less people are buying it. So people that buy it later may only be able to get it digitally, unless they go to the second-hand market. Again, that is a part people often omit. The second-hand market, it's not in these numbers. You know why? Because as fantastic as it is, Sony don't get a dime from a copy sold from one friend to another or sold to a store, which is why they are being so eager to kill it since they introduced digital games. And now they're doing it. So another like sort of like, you know, response that people seem to give to this when you bring it up. PC, it's all digital and you're not complaining. Okay, I'll give you that argument. It's true, and from a personal standpoint, yes, I didn't pay too much attention. I didn't care too much when physical games died on PC. Because, well, when that happened, I was mostly a teenager. And tell me how many teenagers you know that actually care about ownership of video games. I'll wait. But yeah, that's no excuse. Yeah, it's not good. It's not great. However, these people that bring it up fail to understand is that a console, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, it's fundamentally different to your gaming experience on PC. Why? Yes, it's true. We don't have physical games on PC. In fact, I saw somewhere, and I cannot find it again, the split was like 99% digital because there is little to no physical games. PC is not one platform under one company. Yes, Valve holds like 70-something, 80% of the market, but it's not one company. You have many options. As much as I hate it, you can go and play your games in the Epic Games Store. Like I did mention in the other video, you can get your games on GOG. So on PC, you're not tied to a single platform, to a locked ecosystem. You see, if you have a PlayStation, you have only one place to buy your games. And even if you buy them on retail, which will be digital, by the way, I don't know how they're going to do it. They're probably ditching the boxes or the codes in a box, and they'll give you like, you know, like that little scratchy thing, like when they do PSN recharge, except you will have the game codes, something like that, most likely. That's still PlayStation Store. You only have one place, and one place only, to buy and download your games. However, on PC, you always have a choice. You don't need to play on Steam. Steam is not a monopoly, despite the fact what Tim Sweeney thinks. Hell, you can even sail the high seas, something you cannot do on PlayStation. So the thing with PC is that the overwhelming majority, if not most of those games, are on the internet. They are out there in people's systems, in hosting servers. They're out there. Like the vast majority of video games that at some point been available on PC, you can most likely find them. But that's an option it's not available on PlayStation. And I'll give you an example. Not long ago, like a couple of months, I wanted to play Battlefield Vietnam. Now, Battlefield Vietnam is already delisted. If you own it, I believe you can still download it from the EA app. The only way to get a copy of it is to get an old PC CD copy. Only the people that actually bought the game will be able to download it, and who knows for how long. And I saw this example from Jeremy Jahns. He made a video about this, which is fantastic. I love the guy. And he pointed out that he had an old PS4, his old PS4, and suddenly it broke. It was like stuck in a booting loop. He restored it to factory settings. And what he points out is that, okay, yes, any digital game that I had, I could re-download from the store. But you know what game he had on that disk drive? PT. Yes, the playable teaser for the never released Silent Hill game by Hideo Kojima. Because of licensing and the whole mess between Konami and Kojima, that game, the teaser was delisted. It was removed from people's libraries, and the only way to play that legally is if you already had it installed in your console. I mean, I've seen PS4s sold for crazy amounts of money because they had PT on it. That is another example. Someone brought up in a comment the Transformer games, correct? Due to licensing, they were removed from storefronts. I believe you can still download them if you own them, but you can never buy them. So if at some point you might be wanting to buy an older game because you didn't know it, you didn't know it existed. And okay, story time. When I was little, I'm talking 9, 10, I got a PS1. That was like the first proper console I had. And when I bring this up into conversation with friends, everyone tells me, how is that possible? Well, one of the most famous games for the PlayStation 1 is Final Fantasy VII, a game I very much love and I am a big fan of. However, I never played it back in the day. I never owned it for PlayStation 1. Why? It completely eluded me. Its existence avoided me for some miraculous reason. Either if I saw it somewhere, it didn't catch my attention at the time, or whatever, I just didn't know it existed. And you may be thinking, how the hell do you miss that? Well, for younger people, back in the day, there were like only a handful of ways you could find out about new games. If it was like a huge, massive game, maybe you will see a TV ad, maybe, or a billboard. But most of the time, it was either gaming magazines, going to your local gaming store and finding it, looking at new releases, or if a friend recommended to you. I failed all of those things. I did have Metal Gear Solid, though, so it completely eluded me. I only played it when I was older and I had it on PC. So these decisions affect a lot more than you may originally think. Like I was saying, for PC, you have that ability, you have that choice to get it in an illegal manner if you really want to play a game that is completely gone from the ether. That is not an option on console because it's completely closed. Another funny tidbit I saw somewhere else, Sony, and some people, how scummy Sony is. I mean, yeah, it is, but can you really blame them for doing this? You see, Sony's next earnings call is July 31st, and it only covers up to June 30th. That means whatever impact, backlash, or whatever this announcing killing physical games would have, it would not reflect in their earnings call. Their next earnings call is in September, so they're probably hoping that this dies down by then. On that note, if you're interested, of course, there is a change.org petition. And by the way, I want you to understand, the petition is for stopping PlayStation from destroying and it's called Save Physical Games. I have no hope that this will actually change anything, but you should sign it if you care even a little bit about it. Why? Because it at least gives you some ammunition to at least tell them to fuck off. At the very least. So I'm just going to leave it in the description. If you at least care a little bit, it just takes 2 minutes. Another fun thing that happened after this is the Sony stock went up. And some people are grabbing that and showing it, like some console fanboys, and I don't really know how to call them, just plain stupid. See, Sony makes more money now that they kill physical games. And my usual answer would be, yeah, of course it does. You know, their stock measures on their investors. And I don't blame individual investors for wanting Sony to just make more money, period. In the same vein that I don't blame, usually, individual developers when a game is utter dog shit. When Sony says, oh, we're not going to make more physical games, the investor mind is, thank God, we're going to save a lot of money in logistics, in production of discs. We're going to be able to monetize it more. People will only be able to stay. They won't resell their games, so we'll get those sales, blah, 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 blah. And they, of course, buy more stock, so the stock goes up. It was most likely going to happen. And once again, unless that this decision cost them more money that they're saving by killing it, which, if I have to be perfectly honest, it is very unlikely. Like I said, the trend is going digital. Also, I just saw this. Apparently in their internal, the private message to the publishers and dev partners, it seems they told them that they will still be able to place reorders for existing PlayStation disc games. That's not surprising, honestly, because they said this doesn't affect games that are released prior to that date. So if you get a game released on September that has a physical edition, you're gonna need copies beyond January 2028. So yeah, it's not really surprising. And I don't remember, I think I didn't mention it, because Sony controls everything in terms of production of their games. You won't be able to get physical games even from, for example, limited run games. And you may be thinking, well, but if they have ways to reorder existing games, yeah, but with limited sellers, like limited run games, sometimes you get older games, like maybe there are a couple of years that get a limited physical edition. If by that point the Sony is no longer providing this option, well, those games are not getting it either. Sometimes it's the only way to get games. I bought Beyond Good and Evil that got released on the PS5. They made a limited physical edition. I got that one. I got both Knights of the Old Republic games for the Switch. But I got both copies because, well, I absolutely adore those games. And I only have them on PC, so I want a physical copy of them. And this is the real kicker. If they really wanted to keep physical games, you could even do back orders on them. So you only make the ones that you actually need. Yes, you don't save as much money, but at least you can keep the people that actually want physical games to be able to get them. But again, this is not about the bottom line. This is not about anything. This is not about consumer preferences. This is about control. Shifting everyone to a digital marketplace where they can decide any price. They can decide how, when, and where you enjoy your games, because maybe you're not aware, but not all games are available on every country. Well, yeah, that is simply a few more things I wanted to discuss. Some numbers are quite misleading and some responses are just plain idiotic. Quite a lot of the comments. Once again, thank every single one of you that subscribed to the channel. I am very happy. If I'm perfectly honest, I just wanted to rant more about this. But what the hell? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, although this is a bit all over the place because I just want to touch on a couple of different things. And I hope I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.